play number 4. And so far, play 2 and 3 were the same. So you have this great stretch of fabric going on. Whether you've been doing these reversed Tunisian stitches or you just change them into simple stitches, either way, I'm sure your fabric looks wonderful as well. But now you've noticed in play 4, you have a giant diagram and you're like, oh boy, what's going on here? Okay, I'm here to tell you, don't worry. What's happening is we're going to start to decrease. So your project is going to start to come in. It's no longer going to be a rectangle. It's going to start changing its shape. And what this is, it's kind of a hodgepodge of what you would normally see in a knit diagram and what you would see in a crochet diagram. Obviously, this is Tunisian, so it's kind of that unique blend. But basically, for instance, to start play 4, if you just look at this row, what's happening is we have all of what looks like these upside down V shapes marching along. And it looks pretty regular. We have a simple stitch, a yarn over, a simple stitch, and then this upside down V. What's happening here is this means that we're doing a decrease. Think of it as like a single crochet, 2 together, kind of look like an A when you draw it out in symbol form. Well, it's kind of that. What it's telling you, I want you to insert your hook into those next 2 stitches at the same time. Pull up your loop. So now you only have 1. It's kind of like if you make a mistake and you insert it into 2 bars at the same time, you'd only have 1. So with this, it automatically that we used to have this great pattern going on. Well, it's gonna get a little bit off. It's not going to perfectly land where it was before. So you're going to need to pay attention to how you're doing it just a little bit. But let me show you the simple stitches that we have going on, how to do that decrease, because I know that you are a pro at all of your spike stitches and everything by now. What you're going to do is fold in your new color if you haven't done so already. And for all of this, just to remind you, you can fasten off your colors. You can keep bringing them up every row. It is up to you what you want to do. If you want to have those ends to weave in, or if you just want to drag them up the side, they won't be seen later on. All right. So, following the pattern, it's telling us to do a Tunisian simple stitch in our next stitch. Great. And just a little reminder again, and I know it's in a note that I put in every play. The first one on your loop, that is your first stitch. So we never go into this first stitch. That's your first stitch. We never go into that one. All right. So we have a Tunisian simple stitch on our next stitch. Then the pattern tells us to do a Tunisian decrease. All that means is I'm inserting into the next 2 stitches at the same time, yarning over, pulling up a loop. I did a decrease, and it makes that little V. I do another Tunisian simple stitch, my yarn over, and I repeat this. Tunisian simple stitch, the decrease again, insert your hook between both of those loops, yarn over, pull up a loop. So you used to have 2 stitches, now you have 1, you got your decrease. Tunisian simple stitch, yarn over. Let's do it one more time. Tunisian simple stitch, your decrease, inserting into the 2 loops at the same time, pulling up a loop. Tunisian simple stitch, yarn over. And you're just going to continue that all the way across the nice little pattern. Um, Keep in mind, sometimes at the ends, you might get off pattern. So read the diagram or, read your instructions. Just pay a little bit of attention what it tells you. It'll always tell you to, continue in this way to the last 3 stitches or the last 2 stitches, and it might go a little bit different, just so that you're not ending on a decrease. All right, continue this, and I want you to go ahead and finish row 17, and row 18 is actually the same as what you've been doing. So go ahead and do row 18. Then when we get to 19, come back and join me. I want to show you how to do the decrease in reverse stitch. All right, I'll see you in a little bit. So hopefully you didn't find these decreases along the way very hard. You'll notice there was a whole lot of them. Make sure that you had counted your stitches so you got the right number at the end. Then, like I said, row 18, there was no decreases. So you're already used to working in your Tunisian reverse stitch, so it was the same. But now we're back. Now we're up to row 19 and we're going to decrease again. What's happening here is, the decreases are spread out so it slowly decreases. You'll notice that even they like change the rhythm of how many you have. So just keep an eye on those stitch counts at the end of the row. Make sure that you have your decreases. What's nice about the chart is because it's completely charted out, is that you can count every single one of these decreases, and if that's how many you have, that's great. I blew up the chart. You can use the full chart and count out each one of these V's. So, for instance, for row 19 that we're working on, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 decreases. You can see them bigger here. And that's really nice to know. It's nice. Oh, like you could put a stitch marker every time you do a decrease so that yep, I got that one. I got that one. Because there's only 6 of them in this row. However, helps you is what I want you to do. Now, the rhythm of this changes. It doesn't, here it was really easy. It was simple stitch yarn over simple stitch decrease. Here we change our rhythm a little bit. Where you're basically, if you think about it, every other one we're putting in a decrease to kind of limit our how many decreases we have. So you want to pay a little bit of attention if you're just going to be doing your Tunisian reverse stitches as normal before you do your spike stitch, or if it's a decrease, then a Tunisian reverse stitch. So the way you do this is just like the way you did this, you're just going to be inserting it from the back. So that's enough talking. Let me show you how to do it. If you notice, the very first 3 are just our regular Tunisian reverse stitch, no problem. So let me grab my hook, and our first our next 3 stitches are just going to be regular Tunisian reverse stitches. So I like to insert from the back. And another way of doing it, I was earlier when I was showing you turning it over, which is a great way to look at it. I want to show you one more way. What you could do is, if you don't like turning it over, you can see my hook is in the back. I'm only going through that back bar, but I'm looking at it from the front, because you can see it's like you have a little window into what's going on. So you can kind of insert your hook from the front if you like. It's not in the front, but your eyeballs are looking in the front of your work. But all of the what's happening is in the back of your work. If you like doing it, great. If you don't, do it the other way. Either way is fine. Okay, let's do our spike stitch. Now that you guys are all pros at the spike stitch, remember spike stitch, you'll see it on both sides if you got it. And now we're ready for our first reverse stitch. So all it is I'm going to insert my hook through the back bars of 2 stitches. Through the back bars of 2 stitches, yarn over, pull up a loop. So I decreased. All right, we'll show that again. Let's do a Tunisian reverse stitch. We have a spike stitch. Then the next set shows 3 reverse stitches. With each one of those that I did, I didn't really even look. I almost, you kind of feel it in the back. It's the natural way if you're inserting your hook into the back to pull up and go into these loops. Hopefully after all of this you've gotten into a little bit of a rhythm, but if not, you'll get there. I promise. They're pretty cool. They end up being pretty neat little stitch. All right, let's do one more decrease. So I want to go into these next 2 stitches. I'm go from the back into my reverse stitch. I'm just going through 2 stitches before I yarn over, pull up a loop. That gave me a decrease. And you're just going to continue in the pattern across for row 19. When you're done, make sure you count the loops on your hook, count your stitches, and you're ready to go. For the rest of this play, you have it. It's you're going to do some more decreases in row 20, and then you don't decrease in row 21. So this is pretty easy. And like I said, you're just going to be having a decrease going on here. No longer there'll be straight edges. They'll be curling in on you. So go play. You got this. Can't wait to see it.